Fuck. I cough like that every time I clean my ears. It's because I go too deep with the Q-tip. I know that's the reason, but I still do it every time. I intentionally stick that thing so far into my ear canal that I tickle my own throat. And I don't even mind the discomfort, because it's better than the thought of earwax building up in there, of being impure, or tainted, imperfect. I have all these rituals to ward off bodily imperfection. I clip my nails to nubs every Sunday so they never have a chance to break. I moisturize every night to keep flakes off my skin. And I never let my hands be entirely submerged in water because the thought of pruning up stimulates my gag reflex. I think getting chipped or flaky or pruny reminds me too much of how fragile I am. How fragile we all are. It's not really about being clean. It's about being imperfect. I'm motivated by that. Those imperfections display the damage that time can do to our fragile bodies. I think what I'm actually afraid of is time passing or running out of time. That's probably why I'm nervous around old people. Old people are covered in those bodily imperfections. Their scars and wrinkles throw the passage of time in my face and remind me how swift it is. Really, I'm afraid of getting old myself. I'm afraid of how time imparts itself on our physical being in a way that seems permanent. The permanent marks are what scare me most. Wrinkles and scars are more terrifying than flakes or prunes. Those are the ones that are given by the universe, by time, and that can't be taken back. It's as if time rubs against our bodies as it slips through our fingers, and this friction leaves a trail of symbols on our skin that represent how little time we have. It seems like I should feel the same way about tattoos. That's permanent as hell. But they don't make me afraid. They make me feel kind of powerful. Bearing those marks gives me some sense of control, however imagined, over the passage of time. I guess what I'm really afraid of is getting older. Like, the more wrinkles you have, the more scars, the less time. Getting a tattoo means I can mark myself before the world marks me. Dominate before being dominated. There's a twisted therapy in that. I was driving to my dad's house the other day, and I was listening to an old CD. This Bright Eyes song that I loved in high school came on. The fact that I loved it in a time past probably primed me to feel nostalgic. But it has this line in it about seeking out your fears to face them. And I thought maybe I could find a way to confront my fears about time passing and marking us all. I was driving to my dad's, so maybe it was natural to think of his marks, but it was also appropriate. I've always idolized my dad. He's my favorite person. The thought of his time running out is paralyzing to me. So, confronting my fears by asking my dad about some of his marks is not only some kind of weird immersion therapy, but it also means going where the fear is the ripest, where it hits the hardest. My dad was raised by his mom and an abusive stepfather in a tiny little rural town in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. His dad was in prison. He basically willed himself into becoming a college graduate, and now he owns a small business.
We were over at your grandma Sarah's, your mom's mom, and she had a tree cut down in her front yard, and they left all the wood there. So we went over with a log splitter to cut it up into pieces that she could burn in her fireplace. And it was late in the fall and cold, so I was probably rushing and not paying attention, and a piece of wood got caught, and I went to move it while the log splitter was compressing, and there's an enormous amount of hydraulic force there. It pinched in just below the last knuckle on my finger and went down to the bone and just shucked off everything. Everything that wasn't bone got shucked off and clipped off. There they wrote it up as a partial amputation. And oh, by the way, somewhere along the line, we had you kids dig up the end of the
that's what I
finger in the
meant.
front yard and put it in the bag. So that sat in our refrigerator for several weeks.
We had to go for it.
So, oh yeah. So that's what it looks like when you tear the end of your finger off.
Oh,
That actually wasn't so bad. To further my quest, I thought I'd ask my boyfriend to do me the same favor. Like my dad, the thought of Conrado's mortality sets me in a panic. Conrado was born and raised in Sao Paulo. He moved to the U.S. with his mother when he was 13 after his parents got a divorce. He learned English in 3 months, but went on to fail out of college. His dad died of complications from drug addiction a year or so after Conrado moved to the States. 2 summers ago, he spent the summer in county jail for similar reasons. He's found the will to improve his life, and now has a salaried position as a restaurant manager from a job that started with him serving tables. He'll get his bachelor's degree in the spring, the same time I will.
it's farther under than I thought it was. Yeah, where the hair doesn't grow right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to Western at the time, and we decided to do some late night swimming after a few drinks. So we dove in, but I, unaware to me, dove into the shallow end of the pool. And after one of these, I went in pretty hard at the concrete bottom, and so I come out of the water, and one of our friends, he was going to school to be a doctor. So he looks at it, and that's not good. So he butterfly stitched me right there. I think he did a good job. So.
Neither my dad nor Conrado have had an easy go of it. Both of them are the sons of addicts who later became addicts themselves. And bite your tongue on the Freud shit there, 'cause I already know. They've both basically fought tooth and nail to make decent lives for themselves. When I look at their marks, they don't seem imperfect. They seem triumphant. They've seen some shit, and they can point to a place and prove it. A scar is something they've overcome. Their body healed that wound. A wrinkle is a notch in the belt, proof of what they've weathered. I think now that these marks aren't how time damages, but how it documents. We're all walking testimonies of our experiences. Our bodies carry us through year after year, shoulder our burdens with us, and keep a diary in our skin. We can't control how time moves or touches us. It's impossible to gain a real sense of control, and attempting to do so seems a desperate, foolish enterprise. Controlling time can't be the goal. That's not the best use of our ticking time, and that's not how we show who's boss. What we can do, though, is thank it for its cruelty. Make it mean something. It wasn't enough to shatter us. We can relish it, revel in it, laugh in its face, tell it we love it even as it slips through our fingers. We can gather up marks like trophies, experience, testify, tell. Wrinkle.